Can we go ahead, Aman?
Yes, sir, please start. We are live.
Okay. So namaste, audience. We are back. Today we have privilege to have Professor Ravi Gupta from the Cambridge. It's an honor to have Dr. Ravi Gupta with us. You have seen him earlier in our program. Dr. Ravi Gupta has his UG undergraduation at Cambridge University, also at Oxford. He pursued his master's in public health at Harvard. So he brings flavor from all three top universities of the world: Cambridge, Oxford, and Harvard. As a Fulbright scholar, he did his master's there at Harvard, and after Harvard, he moved back to Oxford, where he pursued infectious diseases. And then he further joined London at UCL, where he did his postdoctoral. So it is about Professor Ravindra Gupta ji. He is named in top 100 most influential people by the Times Magazine for the 2020. So Dr. Ravindra Gupta ji, most welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are privileged to have you. Let us begin. So we prepared a few PPTs. I don't see Sudhanshu is here. Aman, can you run, or we should go ahead?
Sir, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, all right. So sure, Professor Ravindra Gupta ji, yeah, please you begin, sir. Please let us know about the Delta and Delta Plus variants of the virus, how they impact us, if they can evade immunity, and if they evade immunity, how does they do, how do they manage it, and what is the future of humanity in view of every day coming new variants?
Okay, well, I can show a couple of slides if you want to see a couple of slides. Is it possible to share the screen or not?
Yes, you can share. There is a share button on the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, let me show you just a couple of slides then. It will make life easier, I think. So here we go.
And
yes,
by that
can you see
time, let
this?
me. Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see.
Good.
Please
Okay. All right. So I can very pleased to be here, and so I can give you a sort of 5-minute overview of Delta. I mean, this is a more technical piece of work, but I mean, what we're showing here is that when we make artificial airway systems, we can infect those airways with SARS-CoV-2 virus, and we did in this experiment comparing coronavirus, which is the alpha variant in orange, and then the Delta variant in green. And if you can see the green bars are higher than the orange, which means that the Delta variant is able to make more virus in these airway systems than the previous dominant strain, the alpha variant, the B.1.1.7. And here on the side, you can just see there's more protein which has been processed. But it's a little bit technical. But yeah, anyway, there's much more processed spike protein in the Delta variant. This might be very important for why it is able to cause more infection. And here is just some information on infecting different types of cells. These are all these different types of cells, and you can see the wild type WT. This is the old virus, the original Wuhan virus, and you can see the 617.2 or the Delta is much higher. That's about 10 times higher infection in all of these different cells. So it doesn't matter which type of cells you're looking at; it has the same kind of impact. And it is also this virus is able to fuse cells together, which means they infect a cell in the lungs or something, and then they join together. And this is probably helping the virus move in the body and cause disease. And in this,
try to understand, explain to a little more, Dr. Ravi, the previous slide, how it glues with the lung cell. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, this happens because, so what happens is actually, this is one cell, this is another one. When the cell is producing virus, it makes the spike protein, and that sits on the surface of the cell. And that spike protein can engage with the ACE2 receptor, which we all know about, on another cell. And when that happens, there you get a fusion event. where the membranes join together. So instead of being a virus, this is not a virus, it's just the protein of spike. It is enough to make this joining thing happen. And at the same time, there'll be spike viruses produced in this cell, which will come out of the cell and even travel from one cell to the other. When they join together, the virus produced here will move into the cell very quickly into the next cell. And we can measure this by looking at green cells. So if we're looking at the amount of green cells here, this is 100% green cells. This is 0 green cells. If you put the spike protein into the cells, you can see in blue that the standard virus, Wuhan virus, achieves around 50% fusion of cells. And if you look at the Delta variant, 617.2, you can reach much higher levels more quickly of fusion. And we think that this is an important part of why it is able to generate more virus and cause more disease. And in terms of the antibody production, you're talking about immune escape. When we vaccinate with AstraZeneca or the Chadox vaccine, or what you called Covishield, only compared to Pfizer vaccine, for example, you can see here in the Covishield, this is the wild-type virus, and this is the B117, the alpha variant, and this is Delta variant. You can see that the Delta variant has more resistant to the antibodies which are made in the patient who is vaccinated. So this is what you've heard before, that this virus is more resistant to our antibodies from vaccines. Of course, these vaccines are still very protective against disease, severe disease, but in terms of becoming infected, this is why you can see the same thing. Again, with Pfizer, similar story, also affected by the Delta variant. And these are some monoclonal antibodies which are used in treatment, have been developed in the US for treatment of coronavirus infection. And the blue is the Delta variant and the gray is the wild type or the previous virus, the Wuhan virus. And you can see some of these the blue is separated from the gray, which means that these viruses are less sensitive to the antibodies. The antibody is not going to work against Delta. If you use this one, bamlanivimab, this one does not work against Delta. And we're also showing here that one of the Regeneron antibodies is also less effective against the Delta variant. So the monoclonal antibodies for treatment are also going to be less effective in general against this variant. And so we have immune escape plus resistance to some of our treatments. So there's a little summary.
Dr. Gupta, these Lilly companies, monoclonal bodies are not going to work on this?
Well, I mean, they'll have less. We think they're going to have less effectiveness based on this. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
What I gather from your brief overview of the subject is that the virus is gradually becoming more and more lethal, so to say. And if it is becoming more and more virulent and lethal and resistant to the vaccines that we have in our armamentarium, why is that people are saying, I mean, people means these specialists and the government agencies, that third wave is not going to be severe, when we know that the Delta variant has already mutated into Delta plus, and recent reports has come that there is a Lambda variation also at the same time. And your chart shows, sorry, carry on.
So sorry, yeah, I can answer that very quickly, but I'm not sure this is a more pathogenic virus. It makes more copies, it makes more virus. We don't necessarily think that it makes the disease more lethal. It just means that it's able to spread more quickly from one person to another, and it's able to cause infection with a lower dose of, a lower number of particles to trigger an infection. So I'm not sure it doesn't necessarily translate to lethality, because lethality is linked in a large part to the immune response and the overinflammation that you get. Secondly, Lambda, I mean, has one extra mutation. It's not a very significant mutation. It's 417. It does have a small effect, but I don't think that it's going to have such a big advantage over Delta that it's going to overtake Delta. I mean, my prediction is 417 will not do that. We've seen other viruses like the alpha variant, which have developed the 417 mutation on top, and that virus did not take over alpha, globally. So this 417 is not going to be a huge advantage for the virus. It's more a stabilization mutation.
So do you think that the current status when we know that at least in India, the seropositivity rate is about 57%. So this virus, because it is going to spread very fast, is going to add to the herd immunity more than causing the fatalities?
Well, I mean, if there's 50% in seropositivity, that means that people should end up with relatively mild disease second time. I mean, there will be some severe disease second time, depending on the time interval between infection and reinfection, and other comorbidities and what their antibody responses were like. On top of that, we have vaccination. So people, if they get a booster vaccination on top of previous infection, that's great. Hopefully, the rest of the population will get vaccinated. I think that the young people in this country are obviously now a source of infection. You can see that. So the question in India will be whether, once all the adults have been vaccinated, what to do next if you can achieve that. But there will be a third wave, of course, but I think that it will be slower, more insidious. It's not going to be this big sudden thing like we had in April. But sometimes that gradual thing can be just as dangerous longer term because the overall impact could be quite significant in India. So I think we should sort of be ready for that. That's all.
And there is one more question, because you have very little time left for the next talk that you have to give in a conference.
Yes.
What do you think about the multi-organ effects of these viruses? Because what I am seeing here in India is, I am a cardiac surgeon, by the way. I'm not a bacteriologist or a virologist. What I have seen that patients are having multi-organ failures more in the Delta plus variant, compared to the Alpha variant.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, if that's true, then, I mean, this virus, as I said, I showed you the spike processing is very much more efficient. And that means that maybe the virus can infect cells more easily and can infect a wider range of cells possibly. And that could contribute to multi-organ sort of dysfunction. On the other hand, it could also be due to more severe infection that, you get sort of cytokine storm, etc., which causes dysfunction. So I mean, I think it's important to know the answers to this. In the UK, we don't have enough so far enough infection to tell the difference, but I'm very open to this theory and of expanded tropism in cells.
Gyaneshwar, do
We
you have
have
any
this Anandi, Ravina ji and Vaishali ji also. Aman, please come on the video. It looks good. Yeah, Dr. Gyaneshwar, do you have some questions?
He has got another 7 minutes left for us.
Oh, good evening, Professor Ravi Gupta. It's nice to see you again here.
Nice to see you again. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, actually, I have a question that I mean, this is like more a like we never know that when it would happen. But do you think that in recent time there would be any variant which could evade all our immunity based on natural infection or the vaccine ones?
I think it's possible, and we should never discount it. But I think for the virus, it doesn't need to do all the evasion. It just needs to get enough to sort of propagate. But there will come a time when there's enough vaccination that the virus will start making changes which could have quite big impacts on immune responses or defenses. So I think that whilst we are okay right now, I still think we should have new vaccines against new variants. So for now, I think Delta is a good candidate because Delta is now overtaking all other variants in the world, including the South African variant, the Beta variant. So we should still update vaccines.
Yeah, right. As far as I understood, that the African variant are the P1, the Brazilian, versus the Delta ones. They both of them have a bit different antigen property, as you said in your paper, I guess. There was a recent paper from your lab. So, and for both of them, the vaccine both of them for vaccine is working quite well. So do you think that, do we need to make a new updated vaccine based on Delta variant, are based on African variant, or just use the one which is being used as a like the basic variant, that is the Wuhan one? As far as I understood, what I wanted to know that making a vaccine on the derived variant or making a vaccine on ancestral variant. As far as I understood, yeah. Please.
I think
go
we
ahead.
need to update vaccines in the future. I mean, the current vaccines are good; they're doing fine, but the virus is moving, and we need to be moving as well. So the question is, what is the next vaccine? I think the next vaccine should have a component of Delta in it, maybe against the N-terminal domain mutations, and I think that we should also maybe covering the South African variant, because what we see is we have some preliminary data showing that the serum from people infected with the South African variant confers some relatively good protection against other strains. I think that if we can generate those kinds of information, then that will help us decide what to do. So, for example, Moderna have a new vaccine against the South African variant, and maybe that will show better protection against the Delta variant than the current vaccine, and that would be very good news. So we just need to do the right kind of research behind it.
Yeah, because when there was alpha variant on UK, people started to think that we have to update according to alpha, but now it is delta. Maybe after a few months there will be something else. So how do we predict this?
For alpha, I think for alpha, when we did the in vitro work, we found that the loss of activity was very small, quite small, modest. So I don't think for alpha we were thinking about new vaccines, but with South African beta variant, then we started thinking about new vaccines. Yeah, and that happened very soon after alpha. So, yeah.
Dr. Ravi, I would have one question. Can we do something to increase the memory of this our immune system, so that whatever the antibodies we produce in our body can sustain for longer period, can protect us for the longer period than just 2 months, 3 months, or even somehow?
Yeah, I mean, the immunity is in general quite long lasting, but protection from infection may not be as long, because this is a virus which is highly transmissible. It has a lot of evasion. It can infect very, very easily in the mucosa and the lining of the nose and throat, where the antibody levels may be quite low. And of course, you may be protected from severe disease having had this long-term immunity, but you can still be infected and transmit. So, and of course, as I said, the virus is changing. So, being infected with the Wuhan strain may not be so protective against the other variants that are going to come.
And one simple question: can the virus infect us through food also, if we are through the intake of the food?
I think it's unlikely, because it's a respiratory pathogen. When you put things in your mouth, they go into you have a lot of enzymes in the mouth. Then it's quite then you swallow it, it goes into acid. So I don't think food is a high risk source. It's more like sneezing, droplets in the air is the main thing now, I think.
Okay.
Aerosols as well. Yeah.
Professor Gupta sir, please carry on. I'll have some
Well,
questions.
I'm really, I have so many questions, but he has got very little time left.
There's 2 minutes left. Sorry, then I have to go.
Would request you to share the PPT, Professor Ravi, so that we can,
one last question. Do you think that we are into trouble for the next coming, couple of years now with this virus, because it is going to keep on changing, and we are going to catch up with it by probably new strains of vaccines and other things?
Yeah, I mean, things are going to continue grumbling, but I think that in general, things are going to improve overall, in that things won't be as severe, because the background immunity levels are increasing. The background antibody levels are increasing. They may not be that effective, but they'll be partially effective, and the immune system will be partially effective. So I think that the severity will decline at the population level over time, but it's still going to be a problem.
So like influenza, become influenza virus at the end.
Yeah. Okay, I think I probably need to go now. I'm sorry, but it was very nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Dr. Ravi, Dr. Ravi, we are not going to leave you in half. So what we do, we would come back to you, and we'll have another session, maybe half an hour. That is sufficient. So that is the request. Okay, and all the best for your next conference, the coming
Thank you.
conference that you are going to have. We have R.K. Gyaneshwar, who is one of our patrons. I would request him to please come on the video. Gyaneshwar.
See you, Ravi, sometime later.
Thank you. Yes, nice to see you. And
Yes.
speak soon. All right. Bye-bye.
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 So we will continue. Because we have Professor Gyaneshwar Chaubey, and I am going to grill you this time. Please let us know more about this ACE2 gene, how the fusion happens, and of what happens after. I'm still confused, though I have studied enough literature in the last 2 years. I am not clear what happens next to the fusion. How from one cell to other cell, like from external world, the virus has come to our ACE2 through ACE2 gene to our first cell of the body, but from first cell to next cell and next cell to next cell, how it moves, and whether it moves through bloodline also.
Yeah, Lalit sir, it moves everywhere, and that is the problem. And as soon as it goes to the cell, because all the cells, they are connected with each other with the bloodstream, and then it starts moving into the blood. But the main problem is what I able to understood, because I could not listen his complete talk, and somehow the thing is still not very clear. The thing is like what he has showed, that Delta variant has immune evading property, and many of the people who have
The resistance as well as evasion, both the properties we have shown are higher with the data.
exactly, but still you see the situation in India, people, they have been infected with Delta variant as well as some of very unknown variants, and the reinfection chances is completely null. The cases are getting down. The variant is still here. There is no problem for the variant. Variant is not getting weaker at all there. It is not able to reinfect to the people. So the ground reality is completely different from the lab reality.
Okay.
In fact,
And
what I feel, our should I say, idiotic behavior in general is actually protecting us, because that is very rapidly increasing our herd immunity. People are
Yes, sir,
getting infected.
this is not idiotic behavior, sir, because for our India is different, and
I know.
we cannot force everyone just to wear the mask and follow all the guidelines, because
No.
it is impossible. We
No,
cannot
what I'm
have
saying-
like social distancing 6 feet and so many number of people just standing here and there. So it's completely impossible. And you see that actually there is a case that's the people who were working in the hospital, they have been infected as well as they have been vaccinated. These people, they stopped using the mask, and now if you measure the people who are using the mask and people who are not using the mask into the hospital, these people has more than 30 times higher antibodies level. So it means that people who are not using mask, they are much better. Now, if there is some immune evading virus who is evading a level of antibody, it starts infecting everyone. So the people who were not using the mask, they would not be infected, and other people will be infected.
Maybe, but I got infected while operating a patient because 5 other people who were assisting me in that operation were infected and they didn't know. And I got infected.
So they
And
all
I
were.
tell you, I every day I have assigned a person to count people randomly, the hospital staff, those who are not wearing their mask properly.
Okay.
And I must tell you, 78% of the people who are working in the hospitals, they are not using the mask properly. What they do, the mask slips and then they put it back and pick up the nose also from outside after touching the mask outside. So that is what I call idiotic, because I'm not actually expecting an illiterate person who is working in the as a laborer to act smart. I'm thinking of the medical staff, nursing, technicians, even doctors not wearing and using their mask properly. That is idiotic, certainly.
Right, sir, exactly.
So it's really strange that 4% of the people, they are only using their mask properly. 4% out of 100 people. And this kind of behavior, as you said rightly, that probably is rapidly expanding our herd immunity. Rapidly.
And sir, what is the status of seropositivity now? Do you have some results?
The seropositivity in general in the country is around 50%. And once it crosses the 60% level, it is, in fact, herd immunity status, we have achieved it.
So at some places, I think at hotspots, it should be more than 50, right?
That is what I worry, because see, hospital setting is it's a hotspot, because
Right.
lots of traffic of people who are sick, lots of people who are bringing in infection, and there also the appropriate behavior is not there. Having said that, about 48% of the medical staff is now well protected by vaccination, but 24% staff is still hesitant. They don't want to have vaccines. Reason is that many patients who have had vaccines, they have shown post-COVID, kind of signs. And that's
Right.
the worry. So they are worried about that even if they get infection or they have the vaccination, they will have long COVID. That's the problem. And certainly the statements coming out of ICMR, coming out of the labs, by the scientists, by the politicians, they are so confusing. Somebody says there is no problem, somebody says be aware. Like, for example, day before yesterday, Dr. Harshvardhan said in one of his press conference that Delta plus variant is a matter of concern. The same time, the All India Institute director says that there is nothing to worry about the Delta plus variant. Then ICMR chief, Dr. Anke Arora, who is also the task force chairman, we said there's nothing to worry about. So all these things actually confuse the general public at large. That is the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, sir. But I think they all are using their own data sets, and they are using their own own experience. And this virus is very new, so everybody is like confused with that.
No, for a large country like us, like Dr. Ravi, Professor Ravi was saying, that to interpret the data in their own subset is different than India. So for people not working as a team in the country and one spokesperson giving the right view to the country, it is a very mature situation. For example, if the health minister is going to give a statement, he should have the input from everybody rather than individuals giving contradictory statements. That's what I feel.
Personal informations are, going into the public. That's really worrisome.
हाँ, वो कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, हम भी कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, डॉक्टर्स भी कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं. पेशेंट की क्या बात है, मतलब जनरल पब्लिक तो बिल्कुल भयानक कंफ्यूज है ही है.
So,
Exactly, sir. We usually learn from the ground report, and we see that ground report is not very frightening. Whatever we see in the India, and comparing with the situation in Pakistan, if you see the Pakistan, which is like most wonderful country nowadays into the whole South Asia, they have never been so heavily infected. There is no death at all. I mean, the frequency of the death is like very minimum. And even they are playing much better than even China.
Yes.
how come?
What could be the reason?
It is because these, the government decided let the people die and do not capture the data because of the data only, or it is really a good situation?
Not really, sir, data, because you see, you cannot hide the number of deaths. This is like impossible, at least in South Asian countries, where we have all the rituals, many people are involved, not like unlike to Europe. Like in Europe, you can just go and hide someone, but here you cannot hide.
I have been part of a discussion by an editor of a national newspaper,
Right, sir.
and he tells me, the editor tells me that many deaths in the rural India have not been reported. They have not been registered also.
Correct.
And people have just thrown the dead bodies in the jungles or in the places where they cannot be found because of the fear of the spread of the coronavirus in their own villages. So I think in India also there is a lot of underreporting, so to say, not by force, but by chance, because we do not have a very strong data gathering machinery in our country. Our data is always weak because we do not have a very, very strong database gathering team. So that is the problem. And this problem exists everywhere in every institution, unfortunately.
And sir, yeah.
आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Okay, I was on mute. So I intend to take the maximum advantage of your all presence, Dr. Gupta ji and Dr. Chubby ji. So I had a question. So what I assumed at my level, though not being a medical expert or even the student also, the virus, more people are not getting, more people are not dying because of the virus then the people who are dying for the what is called inflammation. So what about the inflammation part of this new Delta or Delta plus variant, if you have studied, or how to control this inflammation to reduce the overall number of deaths?
I can explain you the medical part. That is very simple. When the virus is multiplying inside the cell, it is actually not causing you any harm. It is making its home stronger and making its family stronger to infect more and more cells in the body. And this period lasts for 4 to 5 days, as we have seen with the beta and the delta variant. After the 5th day, the body starts producing or rather starts to have complement activation. That is the machinery which protects us from the infection. And this comes as a storm because of the virus number. Because the virus is in huge number in the 5 days time, and then body becomes so inflamed that inflammation that is caused in the lung, liver, sometimes kidneys, that is the killer. The inflammation is the killer. So at that time, if the steroids are used in the appropriate doses, at the appropriate frequency, one can stop the damage caused by the inflammation. Virus will still be there or probably dead, half dead. Like Dr. Mishra was saying this morning, that 9,099 would be dead, but one virus still escapes. It's death. So most of the virus will be dead, but it has already caused the damage by provoking the body to create a complement activation, cytokine response that we call in our terms. So that is damaging. If Dr. Gyaneshwar would like to say something from the genetic point of view, that will be different.
Yes, sir. But sir, before that, I wanted to ask further question in this. That
Yes.
There are some patients we have continuously speaking with the doctors. There are some patients who are at full steroid dose. I mean the maximum steroid dose. I don't know what you call this in medical terms, but still their cytokine storm could not be, controlled, or they are still dying even after putting maximum steroid doses. So how to manage those patients?
Yes, there are certain number of patients who do not respond to steroids, but more than likely it is that they have been given steroids at not the appropriate timing. The timing has to be perfect. Suppose if you start the steroid at the time when the virus is replicating,
Right.
the body is not going to respond to it. In fact, it is going to make the situation worse.
More copies.
These are the kind of patients that those who do not respond to steroids later on. So the timing has to be very perfect. When I got infected with the virus while operating, then I had to go to the intensive care. And there they checked that I still have probably some more time to go before they could start the steroids. What they were doing, they were monitoring my CT scan, they were monitoring my oxygen levels, they were monitoring my many parameters to see what is the right time to strike with these steroids. And third day after my admission, when I have already had 5 days of fever, they started the steroid, and believe me, in 72 hours, I was normal. So the timing is to be perfect. And I don't think that in normal settings, most of the doctors or most of the private practitioners outside the domain of institutional setups, I mean, they have used the timing correctly. And that is where the problem happened.
Yes, sir. In those cases, doctors needed like one-to-one observation, and like when there are hundreds of patients, it was really impossible. I think whatever we have seen in BHU, it was
Yes.
completely impossible for them. Whatever, they just see the patients for a few seconds, and they
Yes.
say just you have to give this much steroid to that, and that's it. So this could have I think could have been much better with the hospital setup.
In SGPGI also, what happened, I tell you, that
Yes,
we
sir.
had only 2 doctors and 2 nurses on 20 patients. Because in PPE kit, it is impossible to, stay normal up to 6 hours. It is, every time you put on the PPE kit, you get 2 kilos weight less because of sweating.
Yeah.
Every time you come out of the PPE, your weight is 2 kilos down because of the sweating. So, and 1/3 of the SGPGI workforce was having problems either in their home or to themselves. So
Right.
the number of people workforce this time, the second wave, got seriously affected. So that also created a lot of problem indeed. But we cannot mess up with the timing of the steroids. The timing has to be perfect.
I would like to add, yesterday we had another session on the Siddha medicine with the 2 doctors who maintained their COVID center in Tamil Nadu very well. So what they presented to us, firstly they had a medicated mask. Medicated means through the herbal treatment. They made through herbal treatment, they made medicated mask that they were offering to their patients. And secondly, they were also using the fumigation, traditional fumigation, to make the aerosol virus free. So why I mean, if I extend that imagination to our science, modern medical science, such kind of tools or the instruments or the measures have not been taken in the last 2 years uh, by the medical science, like stopping the virus in the nostrils itself, or killing the virus, or making it ineffective in the air itself, or even going for the medicated mask with good fragrance, healthy fragrance, but is still at the same time having these features who can neutralize the virus to some extent. I do not know, because they were also not knowing, they were using the preparation which is given in the scriptures. But very wonderful results. Out of 140 total patients who were admitted in those 4 COVID centers, only 1 death recorded. This what the doctor was saying.
That's excellent.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
But
Lalit.
the problem is that based on their experience and the survival rates, we cannot say for 100% sure that it is the lotion or whatever they put on the mask that has made the difference. Because we do not know what was the viral load on the mask. We really do not know what was the viral load after the paint that they have used or spray. So there has to be proper randomized and double-blinded, trial on that. Otherwise, on the stand of science, this kind of work does not stay anywhere. And that is the problem with our traditional medicine setup and the Ayurvedacharyas, the doctors and other people, homeopathic doctors, that they do not do the scientific work. They may be able to save the patients, and probably they are right, but we cannot say that in the current scientific scenario. That's the issue.
Yeah, I completely agree with Nirmal sir, because Lalit sir, the situation is here, the more chances for a host to work against the pathogen, and the host is more responsible than the pathogen, whatever we have seen in this 1.5 year of timeline. Some people, whatever variant is there, doesn't matter. As even Nirmal sir said that there were 5 people with him and they all were asymptomatic and they gave virus to him and he has to go to the ICU, not ICU, sorry, to the intensive care. So yeah, that's ICU actually. So so you see the situation is just varying by person to person. And if there are, I'm sure that there are certain population who are not at all affected by this virus. Even this virus affects them, like the bat, whatever we understood in the morning. There were some population who are just exactly like the bats. They are just carrying the virus and it is not harming at all to them. So possibly the population, what they have studied, what they have cured, that is most likely were not associated with the more death rate or not associated with the complications. They would have seen the same kind of group outside the hospital or some other hospitals where these measures has not been taken. Then they could have compared both of the setups.
Okay, all right. So we have our patron, one of the patrons, Mr. R.K. Chan. I would request him to, come on the video or ask something or suggest something because he has seen the world. He has in the higher positions of many chambers of commerces, many industrial organizations, many places. Many times he have made a round of the world. So, Jan Saab, if we are audible to you, please come. Or he's on mute. Okay, I think he's busy.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
yes, sir. Please come on the video.
Just a minute. Yes, I'm now. I'm on. I'm with you, I think. Am I with you now?
You are not visible, but we can hear you.
Hello. Stop. No. Okay.
No. Yeah, we can see you.
Now I'm okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
If you can, pull the camera a little down. Yes, now we can see you. Sir.
Well, I was a bit late. I couldn't hear Dr. Ravi fully. I could hear Dr. Naya. He was very much, and I think all of them were to the point, and they said very well on the COVID, which is the best. And I think I agree that the people who don't wear masks are more immune than us who wear masks regularly.
Okay.
Because that is the truth which we can say. So of course, there are different views on this, so we can't comment. But as it's, we can see that this time the second wave had lesser people from the people who are working in the fields which were affected as compared to the middlemen. Am I correct? Or
Yeah, very correct. Very correct.
so this is what I feel. So I that's why I tend to agree with Mr. Gyaneshwar that people who had not worn the mask are better. Well,
I have one anecdote, the story, I wanted to tell, but then I thought I may sound unscientific, sort of making
no.
comments.
Most welcome.
hesitant. So here in the locality where I am putting up, it's a Gaur city in Noida extension. So we have
Yes,
a grocery shop. Grocery shop is run by one Agrawal. So he never wears the mask. And since February, I have been watching him. And during the peak of this wave two, when I took a call and went for to save us. I went to my hometown Riva in MP. So I was thinking, let me see when I come back, what happens to him. So when I came back, I went to his grocery shop. He was exactly like earlier. Nothing happened to him, not to his son. His son is overweight, 111, 115 kg. Both are safe, nothing happened, and they both never wear the mask. So I do not know what kind of immunity they both got.
That's what I'm saying. That some people are lucky they have got born immunity through this COVID, and by not wearing masks, they may have got COVID number of times, but maybe they were
That
what
could be
we call as COVID. I forgotten the name. The COVID
virus.
A, COVID A, what we can say, and they may have not got any effect of it, and they must have been.
Sir, that's their own genes. So we should not just tell that they did not wear the mask and because of that they were protected. If we all don't wear the mask, I think the death rates and death number would have been like even tripled in India.
I fully
So
agree. No, Mr. Gyaneshwar, I fully agree with you, and I am the one who never goes out without an N95 proper mask, not a ready-made mask, N95 proper mask, because I have been buying it in bulk for my office, and I give it to my staff every week free of cost, one mask, because it is supposed to wear for what 5 days, and that is what is required. We have to take all the precautions because this disease is nobody's business. And it is a very, very dangerous disease which has
exactly,
got effects during and after. After it works.
In science, what we call, Mr. Agarwal ji, an anecdotal exception. That's
You are very right, Doctor. Very right, Professor.
So, Dr. Gyaneshwar, we heard in the news that this virus, what you say, this genome testing, what is the term in your language that is happening in BHU as well as in Lucknow?
which one? Virus surveillance?
No, not the surveillance.
zero positivity rate.
Zero survey, you mean?
Yes, zero survey or something.
Zero survey you are talking about, I think.
That is, government is opening a center in BHU, also in Lucknow.
Yes.
That's for virus surveillance. Yeah, they wanted to see the new virus variants and how they are evolving into the population.
Okay, so you are involved in that from BHU side?
So far, I don't have any information about it.
Okay.
But I missed Dr. Ravi. What did he say about this third wave or whatever the mutation of Delta?
So first thing, we are going to call him again. Actually, today today he had to be with us for 1 hour, complete 1 hour. But in the morning, not yesterday, today morning, he was asked to give a presentation in his university to some journalists and some other people over there. So time was less. Our time was taken by them, the gentry which was waiting over there. So we would be calling him again, but he showed us a couple of slides. The slides, Dr. Chaubey, I would request you to please explain to Jansa. He was saying, showing the virus is more infectious. It can replicate at higher rate, and it is resistant to the existing vaccinations, particularly this co-vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine. But Pfizer is doing better, and it is also resistant to, I'm forgetting the term, monoclonal
Antibodies.
Yeah, antibodies here. So I remember the name Lilly Willy because yesterday morning I was studying. So Lilly Willy, I thought, what is this Lilly Willy? After Google search, I came to know that it's the name of the company that produces the the monoclonal antibodies. This is what he was suggesting. So Dr. Chaubey and Dr. Gupta ji, I would request you please explain the answer on this.
Actually,
No,
I did not see his presentation, so I think Nirmal sir could make it much better.
What Lalitji has said is is a good brief. He said obviously the same thing. He had only 5 slides in total, in which he showed that virus is replicating faster, and it's going to escape. On the third wave, your question was on the third wave. What third wave is going to be, and what he said on third wave was that he feels that it is unlikely that the third wave will be as torrential as the second wave, that the mortality will be not as much as it was the second wave because of the herd immunity and vaccination. But that is probably his perspective looking at the vaccination rate in the UK, where more than 70% population is vaccinated. Having said that, in India, there is only, I think, 4% population is vaccinated so far. So it may not be translatable in Indian condition. But as Modi ji has said that by the end of this year, we will have the complete vaccination of the entire population of this country, at least with 1 dose. And by August next year, 2 doses of this vaccination by 100%. That's what actually Modi ji said a couple of days ago.
I think it is achievable to say the vaccination is being done at the moment. It is
Yes, it
achievable.
can. Yes, it is achievable. If we all work hard.
But whatever Dr. Ravi has said, I think that's what we all know. There's nothing new in it which really added any information to us.
Yes, that is true. That is true. That is true. But the thing is that the word coming from the horse's mouth is always truer than the other people, because he's working on those viruses there, and he is the world authority on that. So that is the kind of word coming from the horse's mouth.
That they are all saying that the third wave will escape the vaccination. But at the same time, there was no answer that which vaccination is better.
There is one question that I asked him, that are we into trouble for the next couple of years? On that question, he said probably yes, because the virus is going to mutate and the new viruses are going to be more infective, obviously, because that's the nature of the virus. It always mutates into more infective virus. So we have to update our vaccination also. Newer vaccines have to be invented, and newer vaccines have to be given again, probably to the entire population. As I said to Lalitji, that this is one big economic reset. So that is we are seeing now.
So
Well,
actually, here I have problems with the vaccine upgradation, whatever he's talking. The thing is like, we know that the basic vaccines which are running at the moment in the world, they are made up on the Wuhan variant, okay? And the African variant and the Delta variant, both of them are a bit differing just by their antigenic property, but the amount of this vaccine is more or less working on both of the variants. So how much we are sure that Delta variant is going to overcome everyone, and it is just going to proceed with the few years or few months or whatever?
it's very difficult to say. Very, very difficult.
As soon as the Alpha variant was there in UK, people said that it is going to take over the whole world.
Yes.
It took, but then now there is no more Alpha variant at all. It's finished. If somebody would have developed the vaccine on the Alpha variant, he would have also finished. The company, it could not have sold even just a single vaccine dose. But now he's telling that
Hello.
I think we have lost him.
Yes, I think we have lost.
Yeah.
He's come back.
So if something else comes with some mutation combination, because there is very a limited number of mutation this virus is playing with it, but then it will make another combination and some whatever variant will come, and now we have to develop our vaccines according to that. So this is like unending process, never ending process. Either we have to infect all the time with it and develop the antibodies, or just die off.
And by then there will be a new virus.
Exactly, sir. Who knows that
Jumping
China
from
release another virus as soon as this finishes?
Yeah.
Well, right. To sum up, we are living in viruses and we will live in viruses. And
No, sir,
this is our how we can
even
stay
our
on.
genome has a lot of viruses, but
Yes.
I have not read this kind of virus at all, because this is very extraordinary virus. This is
Correct.
like it is surviving well in Africa, it is surviving well in India, it is surviving well in US, surviving well in Italy, well in UK, except in Southeast Asia and China and some other regions.
See, the reason is that this is a zoonotic virus. What we are living with are the human viruses, and we are completely in comfort with it. So this is a zoonotic virus. But the problem is what I see in the future, that we have to make amends to our nature. We have to make amends to our nature. Otherwise, these zoonotic viruses are going to jump from the species to species and are going to actually make the life miserable for the human beings to live on this planet. Because they are not only killing people, they are destroying the economies of the nations. So that is going to, and when the economy gets destroyed, the law and order situation can be worrying in the future. That is what I worry. Another problem by people suffering at this large scale. Can you imagine the kind of impact that they have on their psychology? Kids, young people. So the overall impact of these zoonotic viruses is going to increase over the probably the time to come for, and therefore we have to change our behavior towards the nature. We have to preserve our nature, we have to sustain our nature, and unless we do that, what I say always is ab lord chale. Lord chale means not retrogressive, but to protect our own mother nature. ये वैक्सीन से कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. वैक्सीन हम बनाते जाएंगे, वायरस स्ट्रेन मॉड्यूलेट करती जाएंगी, रेप्लिकेट करती जाएंगी, जंप करती जाएंगी, और हम वहीं पे फंसे रहेंगे.
Exactly, sir. We are not the real host of this virus. So it doesn't matter. Either it kills us or it just finishes us. There is no need. It has already its reservoir. So it will survive.
It will survive.
So somehow this is how we have to understand this.
We have to live with it. We sum up.
No, we are living with everyone, sir. We don't have problem with anyone.
The problem is that new viruses will jump
exactly
from other species into the humans, and that will cause another havoc.
Right.
और ये तभी तक होगा, ये zoonotic jump तभी होता है जब नेचर के अंदर abnormal behavior होता है. Nature is causing all this trouble. Otherwise, bats virus तो हमेशा से था. Bats में virus तो हमेशा से था.
Right.
I am tempting to present few slides. Okay. Here. Maybe it helps us. I was trying to. So.
आपका कनेक्शन पुअर है ललित जी, कट रही है आपकी आवाज.
हाँ, ललित जी आई थिंक जहाँ बैठे हैं वहाँ पे कुछ सिग्नल की प्रॉब्लम है.
Yes, अभी host है, इसके पहले तो नहीं थी. Maybe for some reasons it could be. Can you please look at the slides? This is what our team did.
आपकी आवाज बिल्कुल कट रही है, समझ नहीं आ रहा है.
बात समझ में नहीं आ रही है.
अच्छा, मैं स्क्रीन ही बताता हूँ. UK-based experts.
ललित जी आपका सिग्नल बहुत खत्म हो गया है बिकॉज वो सिर्फ ब्राउजिंग होती जा रही है कुछ हो नहीं रहा है
I think there is some problem at my connection का कोई problem है.
It's okay. Leave the slides. It's okay. We got it, but maybe next time we'll see.
If we connected who said something about this Delta plus virus here. Last week's slide. बस नहीं है. ठीक है sir. So I have to thank you all, Professor Gupta ji, Gyaneshwar और Chaubey ji, Dr. Gyaneshwar Chaubey, for your time. And we are going to bring Professor Ravi.
But it was a nice program and very well organized program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Ravi. He's wonderful.
Wonderful.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye.